Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do a how-to video on some of my custom pins, and I'm going to modify this rust one right here. I've already taken all the pins out of it and threaded the plug, but no biggie on that. This is my last of the brass rust ones, so I polished them up real nice, and I'm going to custom pin them. So here's what we need to get started. You'll need a drill, and that is a 632 tap. 632 or even like a 532 would work in these larger cylinders. I prefer to use the 632. It gives me a little bit sharper threads. You'll need your Dremel, and with a adjustable chuck. That chuck's pretty cheap add-on. You'll also need an assortment of files, different tools for cutting grooves. This is a hacksaw blade that I've just cut apart. These little Dremel discs make excellent real fine serrations. You'll need a bit of sandpaper. This is 1000 grit, just for cleaning up your pins afterwards. And for pinning pins, you'll need a drill bit. And this drill bit here is a 1/16, and 1/16 works fantastic for the larger pins. For the smaller American pins or master pins, not quite so much. You'll need one just a little bit smaller than this. You'll need to make sure you got your plug follower, a pair of pliers, and your pinning tweezers. And that is pretty much all of the supplies you need for custom pins. Okay, now I've got a pin chucked into the Dremel. I've got it set up pretty tight in there. It can be tight because we're just going to drill a hole right in the center using this 1/16 inch drill bit, and we're going to make a collar for the pin and pin. As you can see, we've now got a hole drilled right down the center of that pin. So let's go ahead and take it out. Okay. And there's a perfect pin and pin collar, hole right down the center. Now it takes a little bit of practice to get that hole centered up. You know, a little bit of trial and error. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the T-pin portion of the pin and pin, and we're going to use a key pin for that. Okay, so I'm going to chuck in a T-pin, or a key pin, with the key pin portion facing down. I'm going to rotate that around. Make sure it's not wobbling, that way I can get a centered T-pin and it doesn't look like it's wobbling at all. Come on, camera, focus on it for me, for Christ's sakes. Come on. There we go. Alright, my first couple of passes, I'm just going to be removing some excess material, and to do that kind of quickly, I'm going to use this cut-off hacksaw blade. As you can see, that's also a good way to make Christmas tree pins. And, you know, I might stick one or two in here. You never know. But now that I've gotten that step down, I can remove some more material more quickly with the file. Now we're just going to check our fit. And it fits right on there. I kind of wanted that to be a pin and pin T-pin, so what I'm going to actually do is I'll grind down this section of this. So next thing you'll see me have chalked up in here will be another standard pin, and we're going to make a nice serrated pin. Okay, now I've got one of the key pins in the vise, and what we're going to do is we're going to modify a T-pin, or a key pin, and I think we're going to put some serrations on it and call this one done. I don't think we're going to turn this one into a pin and pin. All right, and that gives a little bit different depth of or not depth, width of a serration right there, that little Dremel cutting disc. And yeah, 3 serrations is probably good enough, but I'm not here for good enough on this lock, so let's go ahead and add a spool towards the bottom, just for the hell of it, make it look pretty. And there we go, we've got a key pin with a spool towards the bottom and some sharp serrations. These are the wider serrations I make. Come on, focus. And later on you'll see how I secretly, well, you won't see how I secretly make my real tight serrations, but that's just one type right there. And you saw how when I just angled that blade around, I just turned it like this, and it kind of made that spool cut out. So that hacksaw blade is a really useful tool for making pins. Anyway, the next segment, I'm going to go ahead and have all of these pins made up, and I'll show you what they look like before we put them in the lock. Okay, now I've got all the pins made up. Let me go ahead and show you what I've got in them. I've got a long serrated, another serrated, a key pin that is also a pin and pin. I've got a new type of pin. It's a ball drunken ball spool. Kind of a double spooled serrated for the key pin on 3. I've got a reduced diameter on the bottom of this collar, and it is also a T-pin key pin, so it's kind of a step down. Right here I've got another serrated double spool, and it's reduced diameter on top with a drunken spool above it, a really finely, tightly serrated key pin with a finely serrated collar around the inverted T-pin, or the inverted pin and pin. Then I've got a reduced diameter top with a spool built in for chamber 6, and this really nasty T-pin spool with a really sharp lip on it. Springs, I've got 2 copper springs together here, a copper spring, a steel spring, and a small steel spring. So we're going to have varying spring tension as well as pretty much a different type of pin in every chamber. Inside the plug, our modifications were threads in 1, 2, 3, and 5, and that is counter milling in chamber 4. Kind of slipped a little bit and got outside the edge, but that shouldn't hurt the pick. In the top, I have not made any modifications whatsoever yet. I'm going to put it together, I'm going to pick it, and I'm going to see if any of these chambers need threads or not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So let's go ahead and put this puppy back together. Okay, I need my pinning tweezers, and I need my follower. Okay. So I'm going to start with the spring on chamber 6. Drop her in there. And let's go ahead and put that spool in there. It should sit there. Let's go ahead and load the spring in chamber 5. Okay, that one sits below the shear line. So what I want to load next is the collar for the pin and pin. And now I'm going to set my follower in place. Very difficult to film this part. I hope you guys can see down there. But I'm just going to push these pins down now. And push my follower up. Okay. That one popped out of that chamber. So I can set it back down in there now. Okay, and now that I got that in there, I'm going to take this inverted pin and pin and set him right in the center of the collar and push down on the top. Okay, so I'm going to take my, I forgot that's actually a double spring. That's 2 steel springs. It's going in chamber 4. Go ahead and drop that down in there. Now we're going to drop our wafer in. And I'm going to push the wafer down. Then I'm going to push my follower just barely over that wafer. I know it's real. You guys can't see what I'm doing. Lighting is a little bit of an issue when trying to film this. But you guys can see how I just barely set that T-pin in right after putting the wafer in. And I've got pressure held against it. So I'm going to push him in. Okay. So I've got a small copper spring going in 3. Then I've got this pin and pin key pin, which I'm going to put that in without dropping it, hopefully again. With the pin part up, I'm going to go ahead and push my follower up to kind of trap it. As you can see, it's just kind of trapped there. And I'm going to put my collar right around it. Set my tweezers on top. There we go, got her set in there. Okay, 2 more chambers to go. Okay, this is a ball pin, so this is something new that I've been playing with. And I've never actually had it in a lock yet. So I'm just playing it safe, and I'm putting a wafer down towards the spring. And the ball part goes up. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, or if that's even going to work at all. It might even lock the core up. It might be too much pin. Okay, so now we'll put chamber 1 in and push it up. We're going to go ahead and slide a shim in because there are T-pins. And I like to slide the shims in from the back when I'm putting them on my follower. It just makes life a little bit easier for me. Then I can push it all back to the front as kind of a unit. There we go. Okay, so I'll set that there. All right, let's go ahead and grab the key and the plug. And I like to start at the back and work my way forward. This is always the much easier part. Except I always drop these key pin and pins. Okay, now you can see what we've got here just by looking down. You can see reduced diameter here plus the counter milling, and a slight reduced diameter here at the top of 5 or 6. Go ahead and pull the key out. You can see all the threads, and you can see how far down that pin 4 sits. So whatever is in pin 4 is going to get trapped in that counter milling. Go ahead and put the key back in. On a fresh lock with fresh serration, sometimes they go in a little bit tight. That's nothing to be worried about. All right, let's go ahead and insert. And here's the moment of truth. I'm going to turn the key to the left, and hopefully it keeps turning. Okay, kind of locked up on me a little bit. Okay, so I got a T-pin kind of hanging up there. Okay, there it goes. That'll get that edge. There, my safety glasses falling off my desk. Always wear safety glasses when you're working on pins. All right, so there's that. A little bit of a tick in the center. So let's go ahead and put the plate on. I am happy with how this lock turned out. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick it. And I'm not going to pick it on camera because I don't want you to all see what the binding order is. And then I'm going to send this out in a package to somebody sometime as one of the challenge locks. I'm not going to do a special giveaway on this one. It's just another challenge lock. I just felt like recording the process of making one for you guys. All right. So this is my last of the brass rust ones. Polished up. Turned into a pretty fun, probably challenge lock. We've got varying spring tension. We've got a fairly decent bitting on the key. And we've got some wild stuff going in the pin chambers. But it does work every time unless you turn it all the way around like that. And I'm an idiot. And we've all done that before. So now I can't quite get the key out because this pin 6 T-pin is pushing down here in the back. Okay, there we go. And I hope you all liked that and I'm an idiot part. Anyway, there we go, guys. Stay safe. Don't do anything illegal. And thanks for watching this short lock making series.